In my 15-year marriage, my wife Rebecca Lynn Thompson, a local Bank of America branch manager, abruptly asked me for a divorce. Her reason was simple and cold: I don't love you anymore. She claimed there was no one else, that we had simply grown apart over time. Despite my suspicions, I could never prove anything. Until one day, I overheard her whispering on the phone about significant changes coming to her life. Let's formally listen to today's story of infidelity. If you enjoy this story, don't forget to give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Thank you for your support. It has been more than 5 years since my wife of 15 years, Rebecca Lynn Thompson, a local Bank of America branch manager, asked me for a divorce. Her simple explanation was, I don't love you anymore. She claimed that she had no one else. Rebecca said that over time we simply grew apart. I had my doubts, but I could never prove anything. I heard her whisper on the phone about big changes in her life. Shortly after that night, we agreed to joint custody of our daughter, who were 14 and 12 years old. At the time, in private consultations with professionals, both girls decided to live with her. I was remembering all this because of an article in USA Today that I signed up to receive this Thursday morning. It was an article about Regional Vice President Adelia Lynn Mitchell and her husband, Senior Vice President Daniel Mitchell, attending a charity event in New York City. Another photo showed their daughters, 19-year-old Emily and 19-year-old Lily Mitchell, dressed to the nines and described as promising young ladies. It was definitely Adelia. She now had the status and prestige she had always wanted. The article said that she was very popular on social networks. Her current husband was once my casual friend. We all met shortly after Rebecca started working with him at the local Bank of America branch. Their daughters were mine, but now live with a different last name. My first thought was to call my trusted assistant, Megan Beard, into my office to confirm that my eyes were seeing what I thought. If my vision was correct, it would explain why the search for them all was fruitless. Megan was also my wife's distant cousin, but she was on vacation that day for personal reasons. On the day our divorce was supposed to be finalized, my wife Rebecca did not show up. I asked my lawyer to find out why, before moving forward without her. The judge ordered both of us to be present so that we could confirm to him that the documents presented to the court were approved by both of us. Her lawyer acknowledged that she had been transferred to another state. My lawyer asked me if I gave my wife permission to take the children out of state. I answered in the negative. That's when my nightmare began. Judge Donald McDonald's attitude changed in an instant. When the judge learned this fact, he asked me to go out and try to call them on my cell phone. I left the courtroom and tried it. I found out that the numbers I had were no longer in service. I checked their Facebook pages and found that I had been unfriended and blocked. I returned to the courtroom and told my lawyer everything I had learned. He took it to the judge. The judge immediately issued a warrant for my wife's arrest on charges of child abduction. He suspended the divorce proceedings until she appeared in person in his court. Her lawyer was furious and tried to appeal to the judge's common sense in an attempt to get him to reconsider his decision. The lawyer implied that it was not such a big deal. In the end, Mr. Pose Thompson can confirm that they have reached an agreement. The judge replied yes, he can. He just confirmed that he did not consent to the children being taken out of state. The lawyer replied that this might not be true, that he might be lying. That's right. That's why she should be here. The judge clarified. He added to his order with both their daughters. The police later told me during the investigation that her family claimed that she told them a lot of nasty things about me, and they fell for it. Employees at a local Bank of America branch readily confirmed these claims. When the police asked for evidence, no one could provide. It was just Adelia's words. They simply accepted it as the truth because they knew Rebecca well enough. Why does it matter? He's just a man, was the answer when they privately questioned the ladies of our extended family. Even social services who interviewed the children said they knew nothing about this new allegation, as it was never brought up by any of the girls. Their interviews with them revealed nothing that would suggest such an idea. However, rumors spread by word of mouth throughout the city, thanks to members of Adelia's extended family over the past 5 years. Judge and I stayed in touch, and as a result we developed a friendship because we both fly fishing. He wasn't surprised that I came over to his house that night after dinner. There's a reason. I brought the newspaper with me. You need to see this, I said seriously. Then I opened the newspaper to the article and let him see for himself. Son of a... The judge said, Ruth, can you hand me my cell phone? Alex, I need a few minutes, please. Donald. In the photo below the article are my two daughters. The judge's face turned white. Jesus Christ. They've been hiding in plain sight this whole time. I walked out onto their patio and sat down. Ruth joined me, bringing us both beers. He's furious. I've never seen him so angry. He's calling the FBI. What did you show? And asked Ruth a photograph from today's newspaper of my missing wife and her new husband. This is the first hint that she is still alive in the last 5 years. I replied, the second photo on the page of my daughters with new last names. Damn right. That's it so. He called the FBI because interstate running away with a child abduction charge is a federal crime. Ruth said, why didn't Bank of America help you find her? They got a judgment from a federal appeals court that allowed them to disobey your husband's court order, arguing that it was a family matter and they didn't have to comply. I said, tell the judge that I went home because my emotions were overwhelming me. I said, tell him he can call me at my office in the morning. It was a long and difficult night for me. Was there more to their relationship than just friendship? We were already married. When she got a job in the financial loans department, which he headed, I was just starting my consulting firm. The question of whether my daughters were really his or mine was now especially acute. Did any of us know the real truth? I told myself to take my time because I was already born when Rebecca joined the bank. The next morning, my thoughts turned to Megan. How will she take all this? Over the past 5 years, her hatred for her cousin had only grown. I knew that she believed me. Her actions over the years proved this to the fullest. Many times I wanted to take her into my arms and tell her my feelings. But I didn't. She deserved the best a man could give with me. And what I was facing, it was impossible to me. Megan was a beautiful woman. Her brown hair, soft smile and warm heart were the assets a good person deserved. I couldn't often read about her, but it was all I could afford. No man has the right to ask a woman to share his nightmare. The next day at work was stressful, and I was grateful for that, as it kept my mind occupied. At the end of the day, my personal assistant knocked and opened the door. Alex, the gentlemen from the FBI have come to see you. May I let them in? Megan asked. Of course I was waiting for them. I replied, standing up. How can I help? I asked when they entered. First of all, I'm Mac Holmes, and this is Douglas Dell. Mac said we're here to get some information on this situation. I told them how we met at Elia's current husband many years ago. I explained that, as far as I knew, there was no affair going on at the time, but due to their current relationship and the change in my daughter's last names, many questions arose. I think the only way to find out the truth is for us all to take DNA tests. I thought that Emily, my eldest, was born before her mother was hired at Bank of America. But now I have to wonder if my wife, Adelia, knew him before that period. I said that Judge Donald McDonald put the divorce proceedings on hold after he filed child abduction charges because she ignored his court order by failing to appear. You'll need to find out if she filed for divorce in New York and if she's legally married to him. So you're saying the judge never granted the divorce? Asked Douglas. That's right. The court records will show that the divorce was not granted due to appear in court to confirm that the documents presented to the court were approved by both. I said Judge Donald is a man who cannot be confused or influenced by the stupidity of others. He acts this way in all his affairs because he was once deceived by a dishonest lawyer. Have you given your wife permission to leave the state with your children? Asked Mac. No, we learned it from her lawyer that day that she had moved to another state. The judge asked me to try to contact them on a cell phone. When I returned, I told them that their numbers had been disconnected and that I had been unfriended by them on Facebook. So she moved out of state before the divorce was finalized and got married less than a week later. Doug said it clearly shows that everything she did was intentional. It was not an accident. Max said this contradicts what she said in the interview in New York this morning. When was the last time you had contact with your wife? Asked Douglas. It was 2 weekends before our last court date, where Rebecca and our daughters took the last of our belongings from our home. Child services spoke with them both, and our children decided that the best thing to do at this time was to live with their mother. He explained. Since then I have not received any legal notices or public notices in our local newspaper. I think it is safe to assume that I have not been divorced. This means his signature must have been forged on their adoption papers. Max said we can charge them with trying to cover up a federal crime. I asked what kind of adoption documents we were talking about, but received no answer. Mr. Thompson, could you please provide us with your sample signature? Megan, type me a letter on our letterhead with a text at the request of Mr. P. M. Holmes and Douglas Dale of the FBI. This letter confirms my consent to provide a sample of my signature. I need you to witness this. Then make a copy for our records before I give the original to them. I said, knowing she was listening to every word. Are you still living at A7650 for Yale Road East? Asked Mac. No, I had to get a court order to sell it. I said the police were tired of rumors that there was a sexual predator living in the area. They helped me get a court order from Judge McDonald to sell the house right after I was attacked and hospitalized for the second time. The judge froze all our assets the day she didn't show up to court. I now live outside the city in a house that I built on Ryder Lake. It is a very secluded place with 5 acres of land that I own, carried an electric fence for their protection because many people still believe the lies spread by others. After they left, I told Megan what was happening. She was shocked to learn that her older, distant cousin had been found. I saw hope growing in her eyes along with questions. There were still too many unknowns. As a result, I still had no answers. Megan, when I leave tonight, my cell phone will be off. If you are bothered about my situation, use your best judgment. In case of an emergency, call me on my home phone. I said Megan hated her cousin Adelia for destroying the reputation of a good man and his personal relationships. John lost a lot of family and friends because of the rumors she created. She didn't believe that such harm could have been caused by someone if she hadn't seen it with her own eyes. She often wondered how much more she had to endure for the truth to prevail. It was difficult for her to sit and wait for everything to be decided. Human nature, from what she observed, proved to her that lies are always accepted as truth. Most believed that if it weren't for his company, John would have given up long ago. He threw himself into his work and, as a result, tripled the customer base. Finally, 2 years ago, he began to emerge from his protective cocoon. That's when a fresh supply of freshly caught trout seemed to stop. What surprised her most was that during all this time, she had never heard the name of his wife or children since they left until today. During this period, she watched helplessly as he faded away. Now he was just a shadow of his former self. Megan was 14 years old when she first met 19-year-old Alex Thompson at the family's pre-Christmas party. Rebecca just announced her engagement. She was the center of attention. Megan immediately realized that their relationship would not last long. He was a financial consultant, good at making money. She was a social climber in need of attention, prestige and fame. He always put the interests of his family first. She always needed to be first, and as long as she felt like she was getting it, their relationship would continue. She told Adelia's mother that if they had children, they would divorce as soon as they reached adolescence. She turned out to be right. Her own marriage did not last long because her husband in the army before she had the opportunity to become a mother. As a result, when she needed advice, she turned to Alex. It was Alex who helped her get through difficult times. He was there when she buried her husband and supported her during the mourning period. He became not only her boss, but also her best friend. She had watched him go through his own hell for the past 5 years, and it made her realize that he was the one she wanted to grow old with. Alex's biggest problem was that, no matter what he did, he was haunted by his past every day. As a result, he was stuck in a reality that few could see. The fact that Rebecca and her children had disappeared caused a wave of rumors to spread like wildfire. Many now believed that John had killed them to protect his image. It was believed that the reason he had so many guards was because their bodies were buried on his property. For the first time in a long time, I went to Ruby Tuesdays for dinner. Ordered unlimited access to the salad bar and a portion of catfish. I had just returned to my table after my first helping of salad, when Adelia's father appeared without invitation. He pulled out a chair and sat down. I heard from Rebecca this morning, said Roger. I didn't say anything and continued eating. I had nothing to say to this man. The last time he spoke to me in public, he threatened to find a way to kill me. Public scenes like this only made my problems worse, causing more rumors. Emily and Lily are doing well. This happened when I was in the first or second year of junior high school. I think I was about 13 years old. I grew up in the countryside. Calm, Michelle said quietly. My daughter wants to find a way to resolve these unresolved issues from the past. Rebecca finally admitted to me that she never did any of the things she accused you of. She used this false accusation to explain her need to disappear from the city in this way. I want to find a way to apologize to you. I also know that she talked to several relatives today. Tell everyone she spoke to that I will trust their sincerity when they have a signed notarized statement stating what she said and why I said. When they do and come to my office to give it to me, I will believe them. Until then, even this conversation is nonsense. Until that happens, you are all dead in my eyes. Damn, this is cruel. Alex said. Roger, but I understand where you're coming from. And why do you really understand? I'm just treating you the way you've been treating me for the past 5 years. Think about this fact for a while now. Leave me alone and let me eat in silence. I said coldly, remember. Thanks to rumors spread by extended family members. Many in this town believe that I should be dead because of something I never did. I watched Roger leave. Did he really think that a 2-minute conversation would solve his daughter's problems? Did he think he could sit down and in 2 minutes erase 5 years of hatred, pain and suffering that they had promoted? Did they all think it would be so easy? Did I think they were so stupid that they would try to act like nothing happened? A few minutes later, the waitress who was serving me came and sat down. Mr. Thompson, I was at school with your daughters. Based on what I just overheard, neither of them knew what was going on. The Friday before they disappeared, we were looking forward to meeting at school the following Monday. I saw the man who just left working with other members of your wife's family helping pack their things. After they left, the waitress said, after hearing what I just heard, I thought you needed to know. Thanks for your honesty. That's refreshing. I didn't even know that, I replied. It doesn't surprise me that I've been lied to about what really happened. All these years I usually keep to myself because I'm tired of hearing the whispers and lies they spread about me with these words. She returned to work. When I paid with my card, I left her a tip. That was probably the best of the night. I had a great weekend on the lake, fishing in a canoe. Every day I kept my limit, but let the others go. One of my favorite dishes lately is fresh rainbow trout cooked with flour and butter. Both evenings I ate the fish with eggs and toast. Early Monday morning I was at work making my first coffee of the day and reading USA Today. I was a little disappointed that nothing was communicated, but realized that I was hoping for too much too quickly. Megan arrived half an hour early. For this to happen, the earth must have moved in a new direction. She was excited about something because she was in an unusually good mood. After pouring herself some coffee, she joined me. Looking back, I spent the first few years buying houses, renovating them and selling them for a higher price. She took courses and started working as a bank teller. I learned financial business from scratch. One of the former owners noticed my natural abilities and became my mentor when the partner decided to retire. Masters Consulting was founded. They worked part-time for me and helped the company grow by leaps and bounds. When Lily was born, I had my entire future path planned out. I heard what you said to Roger on Friday. Megan said, damn. Everyone heard my phone rang all weekend. I told everyone, do you really blame him? After everything his family did to him, you all turned him into the walking dead in this city. I have one question for you, boss. Why do you need notarized statements? I smiled and said, public layout. Oh damn. Megan said you're going to sue for everything she has. Wouldn't you? I asked. Yes. Because it is the only way to clear your name and restore your reputation. Better yet, by obtaining a court order to freeze their funds and until my defamation suit is resolved. I am limiting them. This forces them to rely on the public defender. I said, would you like to go to federal court with a free lawyer? Well, was it? Boss, this is going to be an interesting week. If all those who called me keep their promises, we will have about 20. Megan said. Most of the family are generally honest people. The problem, as I've been pointing out all weekend, is that they mistook lies for truth. I told them when they went to church on Sunday to think about it. The question is, will their own guilt motivate them to do what they know is right? As she walked towards her desk, she turned around and said with an inviting smile, "Boss, remember, some of us single girls really like to spend our mornings fishing for the first time in many years." I laughed when I left. At the end of the day, I told Megan, "Thank you for making me smile." Megan has always been and will always be my rock. I firmly believe that if it were not for her, I would not have survived this nightmare of the last 5 years. By Thursday afternoon, we had 24 signed and certified statements, all basically saying the same thing. My wife, Rebecca, told everyone that she had to leave town because I humiliated and beat her for years and that she finally found the strength to leave. Rebecca claimed that she filed for divorce on these grounds. If any of them had checked the court documents, they would have seen for themselves that she was lying. Some helped her secretly leave the city with her 2 daughters and promised to remain silent. All admitted that Rebecca called them last week in an attempt to resolve past problems. At the same time, she admitted that everything she said about me was a lie. In my opinion, Rebecca was afraid of losing the new life she had built for herself. She had no remorse or guilt for what she did. She would have continued to live as if nothing had happened if I had not seen her picture in the newspaper. I knew that because my daughters didn't try to contact me. They believed everything she told them. The best I could hope for, given the facts that had come to light, was the satisfaction of knowing that perhaps justice would be done for me. I came to the conclusion that for my daughters, as for most of the family, I had been cut out of their lives with a name. Megan was able to find her current legal address, her place of work and the address of that work, as well as their current status. She said your appointment with a civil lawyer is scheduled for 2. Make sure that Rebecca is notified before she is charged. Also, remember that you would like to obtain a court order to freeze their assets. Damn it. I thought Megan hasn't missed a thing. God have mercy. Adelia, Ilia, if you ever see her in person, because you won't spare her. I returned to the office at 5:30 with a chilled bottle of champagne and 2 long-stemmed glasses. The lawyer Megan chose took on the case. I gave her all the old court records, the judge's transcripts, the affidavits all signed, along with a copy of the warrant for her arrest. I also gave her a copy of the article that described my wife's new life. I made sure she knew everything about the 3 of us and when I officially met him when the lawyer found out about Bank of America's compliance. She said we should sue them for intentionally aiding in an attempt to destroy a person's life. I said that if one claim covers the other, I agree. She smiled and said, "Okay. Everything is included." I smiled, knowing that Americans, as a rule, sue for any reason. Megan and I shared a bottle of champagne. The 750 ml bottle gave us 2 glasses each. We were just sitting and talking, when the phone rang. Megan answered and, closing the phone, said, "This is the judge." I turned on the speakerphone. "Hi Donald. How are you today?" I said everything is fine, considering the circumstances. "Alex, I called to let you know that the FBI is moving toward convening a grand jury against Adelia Mitchell and Daniel Emerson Mitchell for next Wednesday. They are also seeking a protective order for Lily Mitchell and a warrant to compel the DNA tests on all 5 of you. Judge Donald said your eldest daughter is now an adult and they have no power over her. Thank you for the information. It is very valuable. I said now about my divorce. I will provide it on favorable terms as soon as she is in my court, even if I have to do it via video link." Donald replied, "I am going to hold her accountable for her behavior to me in a very serious manner." Megan said after he hung up, "The judge is going to punish her seriously, but can he put her in jail? I think the kidnapping charges related to it will be under the jurisdiction of the FBI, but he may decide on the contempt charge for failure to appear." I said I really don't know what the law allows him to do in this case. "I think you'll have to wait again," Megan said. "Sadly, yes, I've been waiting for more than 5 years. A few weeks won't change anything. This will also give the lawyer. I hired a few more days to interact with the court and notify her if someone knew something. They didn't say anything. The next week flew by very quickly. On Thursday morning, my lawyer called to inform me that the documents were served on them at work. On Wednesday, she mentioned that she successfully got all assets in Adelia's name frozen. That afternoon, FBI agent Doug Dale called me and asked me to stop by St. Francis Hospital to give blood for a DNA test before 600. The sample will be sent to them for analysis. I gladly did it. I was at the lake fishing for breakfast on Saturday morning when my cell phone rang. I looked at the caller. It was Megan. You should go to the office and look at today's USA Today. She said it shows how Rebecca, Daniel, and Lily were detained by FBI agents last night during another social event. I replied, I'm on the lake, heading towards the shore. As soon as I change, I'll go to the office and check. The curiosity was unbearable. I had to find out what the FBI was charging. It took me about an hour to get to the office. Megan was right. But what really caught my attention was what the journalist wrote: child abduction is a criminal matter. That's just one of the charges Adelia and Daniel Mitchell face for their behavior. After she left Missouri with her children without consulting with her husband, from whom she was divorcing, court records show she filed for divorce because she no longer loved him. A judge issued a warrant for her arrest for child abduction after her divorce proceedings were put on hold due to her failure to appear in court. It was our article about the couple 3 weeks ago that led to her arrest. Apparently, Rebecca used the surname Thompson when she married Daniel Mitchell in a civil ceremony in New York just a week after leaving Missouri. We've learned that the paperwork filed for Daniel Mitchell's legal adoption of Emily and Lily Thompson was falsified. Mr. Jan Alex Masters' signature was forged. The FBI now believes this was done by the couple to hide Masters' daughters in plain sight. It seems the couple worked together at Bank of America years ago when they were starting their careers. Mr. Alex Thompson tried to force Bank of America to reveal his wife's whereabouts, but they obtained an appellate court order allowing them to bypass the requirement. Now it appears that Daniel Mitchell, as a senior vice president at Bank of America, used his influence and power to prevent his wife's first husband from finding his legal wife and children. We have learned that Mr. Alex Thompson has filed a civil lawsuit against Rebecca Mitchell because she told more than 20 of her family and friends that she left her first husband because he beat and humiliated her. 5 years later, local police say they are still receiving reports accusing him of this. They claim that this is not true and that Mr. Thompson was forced by public opinion to become a recluse. I asked if things were really that bad for Alex Thompson. The police officer responded, we still have to open attempted murder cases where he was the victim. Many people here believe that he killed 3 people and got away with it. He also filed a lawsuit against Bank of America and its senior vice president Daniel Mitchell for marriage interference. Let's look at this from the victim's point of view for a moment. Don't you think he deserves justice? I think so. But what does he get? Nothing, because our society does not take this into account when dealing with criminals. They can express their opinion, but it is not published in the media because it does not sell newspapers. Often the victim pays the price. For years, criminal gets free housing and I'm going. The article was amazing. All the facts were stated in it. I had just poured myself another cup of coffee when the phone rang. I responded by saying, this is Masters Consulting. How can I help? It turned out that it was from the Southeast Missourian newspaper. I confirmed that what was written about the entire situation was true. The reporter asked out of curiosity how these last 5 years had been for me. I told him about the still open cases of attack on me by unknown persons. Police were investigating both cases as attempted murder. I explained how far the rumors went. Then I asked him, how do you feel about what I went through? He replied I would call it a living hell. It was. It was hard for me to believe that the nightmare was ending. My name is cleared to some extent. I knew that 5 years had forever destroyed any relationship with my daughters, just like rumors destroyed my relationships with my parents and siblings. When it was all over, I decided to sell the business and leave the area forever if the only person I trusted would agree to leave with me. Before leaving the office, I cut out the article and photos. I then scanned them and printed copies. I placed them in a legal envelope for my civil lawyer to use in my case. Emily Mitchell was shocked when the FBI detained her mother and stepfather after their arrest. Agents then took her little sister into another vehicle. She was grateful that one of the agents took her aside and told her as much as he could. Her real parents were not divorced. He never agreed to change her last name or give up custody. As her sister and she were misled. The FBI announced that all documents with his signatures were proven to be forgeries. Her mother is accused of 2 counts of child abduction. Her stepfather is charged with kidnapping, aiding and abetting a federal crime. They are both charged with numerous other charges. Lily will be held in protective custody until DNA tests prove who her father is, as her mother still claims. She's her real husband. Emily went home to pack her things. Now she sat in the lounge at the St. Louis airport waiting for a connecting flight to the Cape. That's when she noticed the headline on the USA Today newspaper. Left on the empty seat picking it up. She read the entire article by the time she finished. She was crying. During the hour-on-G flight to the Cape, Emily was still trying to understand why her mother did what she did to her father. Nothing made sense to her. Of course, her mother confided in her about Daniel and their online relationship. But she never expected it to go this far until her mother asked her father for a divorce. She was sitting on the steps leading to the bedrooms in their old house when she heard her mother tell him that she no longer loved him and wanted a divorce. Her father was depressed. At the time, her mother believed that it did not matter because he was just a man, and there were many like him. Now that she knew what the newspaper had written about her mother's previous relationship with Daniel, she had even more questions. As she watched the plane begin to descend, she wondered if the airport car rental office still had a phone. It was 11 in the morning. Emily Mitchell parked at their old house waiting for the sheriff's car to leave. She had been there for over 2 hours already. Suddenly it was blocked by 2 unmarked cars. The officer with the gun identified himself and asked her to step out of the car with her hands up. She obeyed. "Who are you and why are you watching this place?" asked the tall officer. "My name is Emily Mitchell. I was waiting for the sheriff's department to leave so I could talk to my father." "And what is your father's name?" asked the officer. "Alex Thompson." Emily replied. Oh, said the officer, in complete shock. "Tom, go tell Joe and Jody to put the coffee on. This isn't what we thought. All 5 of us need to have a long talk. Miss Mitchell, I'm Detective Joel Smithers. I know your father well. What brings you here after all this time?" "Part of what happened last night in the article in today's USA Today. I have a copy in the car. Should I take it?" "Please take. It will help you understand what you know," Joel said. After introductions and coffee, Detective Joel Smithers read the entire article aloud. Everyone was amazed except him. "You believe my father, didn't you?" Detective asked Emily. "I was one of the few. But yes, since the rumors started spreading from your mother and her family about your father, it was already too late. He was persecuted. This house was vandalized so often that he had no choice except to sell him. I think that the second time he was hospitalized after. The attack almost finished him off completely. We were happy that we got to him before he died. Here people wanted to do with him what they wanted. Believed he did. Many believed that you were all dead and that it was his doing, your father. For many people here, Jody bought this house for a fairly small price. But it took until he started bringing home the sheriff's car so that everything calms down." "Are you saying things were so bad for my father that he was kicked out?" asked Emily. "Where does he live now?" "Yes, many of us in the South still have our own views on what justice is. Your father has 5 acres on Ryder Lake, but it's all completely fenced in with an electric fence and close to an electromog. In the 2 years that he has lived there, except for work, no one has seen him in the city. How can I contact him?" Emily thought out loud. "I think I know how," said Tom. "I'll ask dispatch to see if his business has an emergency contact. Be back in a minute." A few minutes later Tom returned with the address written on a piece of paper. "Miss Mitchell, you know Megan Bird?" Tom asked. "She's my mother's cousin." "As far as I know." "Why?" asked Emily. "According to our emergency records, she's the only one who can contact him at any time. Tom said I talked to her and she agreed to talk to you without making any promises. Official fact about Miss Bird, which I just learned, and she is tough. Cold and protective of her boss like a mother eagle of her chicks. If she doesn't believe you, she will do everything in her power to make sure you never get close to him. She's already on her way to his business. She said she'll be waiting for you there." He gave her the address. Emily thanked them for their help before heading off. What woman would hate a man enough to do what Rebecca did too? Jan asked Jod. The one who blames him for all the problems in her life, answered Joanne. As the car approached his, Megan Beard turned on the voice recording app on her phone and opened the door to allow Emily into the building. The first question I want answered, Emily, is what was happening at the time of your disappearance and what did you know and find out later? Megan asked. Lily and I were woken up by my mother at 4 in the morning on Saturday. She dragged me out of bed half asleep. We were told to get dressed and go out. We got out and saw that the car was already loaded with our things. She said that she had a week's vacation and we were going to New York. As a surprise, Emily said that was the first time we heard about it. So you said you didn't know what was really going on? Megan said. According to what some family members say, they knew about Daniel and your mother's online relationship, but they thought it was just friendship. Listen, I saw my mom texting Daniel, but I didn't know they worked together when we were younger. She told me she met him at a regional conference and they became friends. Emily replied. We were driving for half an hour. When I realized we didn't have phones, then I asked my mom. Her answer was that the court ordered her sole custody of us and we were moving to New York because she was promoted on short notice. Now I knew it was part of a lie, but that I had no reason not to believe it. Megan Beard knew that part of this was true, based on what others were now saying, who were finally beginning to admit that Adelia's children did not know her plans. I also asked about our laptops. Mom said the phones had been turned off due to the move and she had to pay the rest of the debt. As for the laptops, the movers had to pack them and ship them. When they moved the furniture, we didn't know what they were. We'll never arrive. Emily said. We drove over 20 hours into days. What happened when you got to the outskirts of New York? Mom told Lily to open her bag and get a new phone. It had a New York number. We didn't know she had it until then. She asked her sister to open Google Maps. He gave us a bunch of directions. We didn't know that we were directed to Daniel Mitchell's house. We found out hours later. He gave her a huge promotion and organized everything so they could be together. The family here was tasked with getting rid of everything except family photos, which were later sent to us. While we were unloading the car, Lily and I found the completed adoption papers. Emily explained it was Daniel who explained that our parents and he agreed on this because Mom and he were going to get married. Emily explained Mom told us later that night that we should give Daniel and her a chance because he is our biological father. We were gradually led to believe that when Father found out about Daniel's real relationship with us, he decided there was nothing else for him except to erase us from your life. Emily, I believe you, because I've already heard about 50 of what you said from my family over the past few days. The only thing we knew for sure was that the school district provided Rebecca with printed copies of your school records so you could register at the new school when you find a place to live. Now that Rebecca has been found, the truth is out. Just so you know, I recorded our conversation. As soon as I give it to the FBI and your father, we will go to Ruby Tuesdays for an early dinner. Megan said. While I'm at it, look at these copies of statements made with the notary. Think about it. If she lied to you about your father, Alex Thompson, could she also lie about Daniel Mitchell? Megan went into the other room and watched Emily for a few minutes before relaying their conversation. Emily learned how much her family conspired with her mother against Alex. She forwarded the conversation to Alex first, then to a civil lawyer, because Emily's honest statement was so damaging. Then she sent him to the FBI. All this time she watched Emily and she made no attempts to contact anyone. Before Megan returned, she received a message from Alex. I'll be waiting for your arrival. Thank you. She wrote back. I left her alone for half an hour to read some statements we received from the family. She made no attempt to contact anyone. I will get back to her with this. Megan returned to Emily. Megan, do you have any idea why? My mother told the family that my father beat and abused her for years. Has asked Emily. No one in the family ever approved of your father. Your mother knew this. I think she used it to explain her need to disappear and move so suddenly. Rebecca also knew that your father would be looking for you. And he actually did. He even tried to sue Bank of America to tell them where she was and won, but then lost in the app at court. Megan explained, we didn't know about your mother's marriage and last name change until a few weeks ago when her photograph appeared in the newspaper. When your father was served with the summons, Rebecca contacted the family in a failed attempt to get rid of her growing problems. Megan explained, for 5+ years your father was a persecuted man. Because of your mother's actions, I thought we were going to lose him twice. How is he now? Emily asked seriously. He became withdrawn and lost a lot of weight. The stress he felt all this time turned his hair almost completely gray. His Facebook page was flooded with hate and threats, to the point that he had to close his account. This forced him to remove his name from the corporate Facebook page because they were attacking him too. They were trying to destroy his business and life. He has learned not to trust anyone and only trusts a few people. He used to be so outgoing. Now he is quiet and reserved. He has no choice. He is free. But not because there are those who still want to bring their version of justice. Megan EXPX pained. He travels out of town to do any personal shopping for the house. He is gradually getting better. Even his own family turned their backs on him. Divorce is usually hard, but what happened to him was much worse. People he still believe that he killed the 3 of you and got away with it. Daddy has a girlfriend, asked Emily. With the reputation your mother gave him, would you date him? Megan asked. For more than 5 years he defended himself against lies that could not refute. Emily said nothing for a few minutes and then said, every time he tried to defend himself, he only made the situation worse because people already had an opinion. He was forced to go alone. The disappearance made the mother's version believable. Rebecca and Daniel planned everything well. The only one who really got hurt was your father. It got to the point where I was afraid he would take his life. Megan said as tears began to flow, let's go eat. At that moment Emily realized the price Megan had paid. She stood next to her father. All these 5 years. How much did she lose to do this? As they headed towards Megan's car, Emily stopped. Thank you, Megan, for what Megan asked for, having the courage to stand by and love my father. Emily replied. Megan couldn't hold back her tears. Emily's words made her burst into tears. Emily consoled her. I sat in my car at Ruby Tuesdays, waiting for them to arrive, trying to figure out what to say to my oldest daughter, who I haven't seen in over 5 years. My emotions were raging. I replayed Megan and Emily's conversation several times. I believed what I heard, but not completely. I saw them approach. They got out the car and headed to the front door. My hands were shaking so much that I could barely light a cigarette. I was a bundle of nerves. Emily has blossomed into a wonderful woman. I saw many of my mother's features in her. This upset me because they disowned me. Shortly after my wife and daughters disappeared, having finished smoking, I turned off the car and prepared for one of the shortest but the longest hikes in my life. The waitress who served me a couple of weeks ago was the hostess on duty. She immediately said, Emily is here. I talked to her. I sat her and her friend in the far corner. Are you here to meet? When I said yes, she said she would sit me down so that Emily would see me as soon as I arrived. She led me back. Megan saw me immediately and smiled. I walked over and sat next to her, taking her hand for support. For the first time in 5 years, I looked straight into my daughter's bright blue eyes without saying a word. We both saw our tears begin to flow. Sometimes you just don't know what to say. This was one of those moments. I asked the hostess to bring us a large carafe of their house wine. When the wine was brought, the waitress silently poured it into glasses and left us alone. Emily was shocked by how much her father had changed. He must have lost about 40 pounds. Even his face looked longer, thinner and older. His gray hair may have added to his age. Many women would pay a lot of money to have that look at his age. She decided that one of them should say something. So she stood up. I responded in kind. We met at the edge of the table in a big hug. She screamed loudly, Dad. I answered Emma, my old nickname for her. We broke the ice. After our emotions calmed down, we ordered our food. Emily was surprised at how my preferences had changed. I have always been a meat eater and loved potatoes, so my plate was always filled with starch. Now I ordered a portion of catfish with unlimited access to the salad bar. I filled my plate with salad 3 times as Megan filled hers. It gave Emily a chance to talk to me alone. Megan loves you, Dad, probably more than I do. Emily said she interrogated me like an old army sergeant before she decided I was being honest. She wasn't going to give me a chance to hurt you again. I have to admit I had a chance to figure it out on my own. But I didn't. I don't think that someday I will forgive myself for this. Emily, I didn't have a life to offer to anyone for those 5 years at any moment. If the body of one of you had been found, I would most likely end up in prison. Most here thought that I was somehow. I killed the 3 of you and escaped punishment. I said I knew this, so I changed my will 3 years ago, leaving everything to Megan. After the second attack and hospitalization, I thought the time had come. She was the one who brought me back from this brink. Megan returned to find Emily in tears. What did you tell her? That it started again. Nothing special. Just that. 3 years ago, when I was in the hospital and decided it was time to leave, I changed my will, leaving everything to you. I said it was your love that brought me back from the brink. I ended up with 2 women crying. After lunch we went and returned the rental car. The women then followed me to my home on Ryder Lake. They loved my secluded home overlooking the lake, with 4 bedrooms upstairs. Great room, living room, kitchen, laundry room with open floor plan and master bedroom on the main floor with a covered passage from the garage to the house. I offered to carry Emily's luggage upstairs, but she refused. I thought she felt we needed some alone time. Why didn't you tell me how you felt before? Megan asked. I couldn't. I was trapped in my past. I replied I didn't know whether the body would show up or not. Knowing is worse than knowing. Rebecca and Daniel knew this and used it to their advantage. Now that I'm free from the box they put me in, I can offer you a future, and I couldn't before because I didn't have one. Megan took my hand with a smile on her face. I think I'll put my house on the market, because no way I'm letting you sell this one. No matter how old you are, you still feel a little guilty when your daughter catches you kissing another woman. I know, because that's exactly what she did for the next hour. We sat and caught up with what I had missed in my daughter's life. I learned that she works in a business that isn't producing much and is studying online for her MBA. She wasn't dating seriously. Why don't you come work for us? I said we can afford it and we need fresh eyes. You can start in a junior position and work your way up after everything we've done to you. Are you serious? Asked Emily. Yes, we're serious. Megan replied with the biggest smile I've ever seen. We can start with an annual salary of 4.0. Well, I guess I'm going to have to find a place to live. Emily said, take your time. We have plenty of space here. I said, but I will expect you to perform the household duties as before. Amanda responded with tears in her eyes. Dad, why you have always been an important part of my life. I replied, I'll fly out tomorrow morning to pack if I can find a flight. Depending on how long it takes. I'll be back Wednesday in my car. Emily said, let's add your numbers to my contacts. We had just finished adding numbers when Emily received a text from Lily. Emily showed it to me. Finally, my cell phone was returned. The FBI is holding me until DNA results are available to confirm whether Daniel Peter is my father or not. They showed me how experts prove that the adoption documents were forged. I can't make calls, but I can send and receive messages, since it's a secure center. Emily replied with my real dad. I'm flying to New York tomorrow to pack my things, moving back home and joining his firm. This is his number. Lily replied, bring it my things to my laptop. Let the rest remain. Emily replied, try to get to Days USA Today. You need to read the article about us. It explains a lot of things I didn't know. Call me as soon as you can, so I can tell you more. Megan saw me walk out onto the patio and followed me. How do you feel? She asked, emotionally overwhelmed. I replied, hugging her. How about I take Emily with me and go to my place to get my things said? Megan, this will give you time to sort your thoughts out. I sent her the electronic gate lock program on her phone so she could open it and gave her the keys to the house, offering to make 4 copies. They left for about 2 hours. I spent most of this time in tears. I realized that the pain and resentment I had been carrying for so long was finally coming out. I was right. From the way I behaved, it was clear that the dam had broken. When they returned, I was smiling, just like them. I was out on the patio preparing the grill for some steaks I had defrosted already. Made a salad and baked potatoes. I watched them chat while carrying things. After 4 trips, they brought back a lot of things that were now lying on the bed in the master bedroom. Over a late dinner, I learned that Emily was flying to New York at 8 on Sunday morning. Megan and I will be moving her things tomorrow. I enjoyed seeing girls overeating. We were all drinking coffee when my cell phone rang. The only people who had this number, other than those present, were the FBI agents. I responded by saying, "Hello, Mr. Thompson. This is Doug Dale. Just wanted to let you know that DNA tests have confirmed that you are Lily's father. We received the results about 2 hours ago. We told her she wants to go home. We've arranged for her to fly to the Cape for 7:30 Monday morning." "That's great, Megan. I will meet her there." I replied, Great. We knew Emily was headed to you last night. Let me know her sister saw a copy of that article online. Doug said you might be interested to know that. When we told Daniel Mitchell, he was shocked. It turned out that Rebecca convinced him that Lily was his daughter. That doesn't change anything. He's still looking at the long term. Just a quick question. When everything calms down, what are my daughter's legal names? I asked. Their legal names are Thompson. We received the court order on this matter Friday morning. A copy of the federal court order will allow you to change their identification cards. It will arrive at your office on Monday. With this, he ended the conversation. I couldn't hold back. The tears flowed. I was excited and couldn't speak. Both Megan and Emily became worried. Fortunately, I quickly regained my composure. Lily will arrive at the airport at 7:30 on Monday morning. DNA tests have confirmed that she is my daughter. I said when they told Daniel Mitchell, he was shocked. Rebecca convinced him that she was his daughter. I knew it. Megan said, "Has my cousin Rebecca ever told anyone the truth?" "And I have bad news. You have to change your last name back to Thompson because the federal court ruled your adoption invalid." My daughter ran into my arms crying. The last name, Mitchell, never felt right. We saw Emily off at the airport as she headed back to New York to pack her things. We then went to meet Megan's brothers and their wives at Jackson. They helped us move her furniture. Since I only furnished 2 of the 4 bedrooms, we had plenty of space to fit her things. The entire story was published in Sunday's edition of the Southeast Missouri. We met them at the Hickory House restaurant for breakfast. Everyone noticed that S' face was glowing with happiness. Her sisters-in-law noted that in 6 months I would gain weight with her cooking. The owner of the restaurant, an old friend, said, "Congratulations, Alex. This breakfast is at our expense. We did everything in one long day." I think Megan's sisters-in-law were jealous of her new home. We invited everyone to come with us to dinner, but they refused. But they suggested that they would definitely be at our first housewarming party when our whole family would be at home. On Monday morning, we were at the airport at 7:15, because sometimes the flight arrived earlier. Megan informed everyone who was needed that we would not be there today. The answer was, we realized it when we read the Sunday newspaper. I watched as Lily walked down the small plane towards me, dressed in jeans and a top. I found it hard to believe how much she had changed the last time I saw her. She was a teenager with pigtails. A stunning young lady was walking towards me. As soon as she saw me, she ran towards me. The sliding doors opened to allow her to run inside. She screamed, "Daddy!" and literally jumped into my arms. We both gave free rein to our emotions. All this was captured by cameras. We didn't care. I heard Megan tell the station reporter KVOS 12. "This is Alex Thompson and his youngest daughter, who half the town thought was dead. It turns out they were kidnapped over 5 years ago. The FBI has her mother and her lover in prison. This is the first time they've seen each other in 5 years." We separated and turned to the reporter. "I'm Lily Thompson. This is my father, Alex Thompson. 5 years ago we were kidnapped with the help of my mother's family. They spread dirty rumors about my father. It's not true. Our mother and her family may have done such things, but our father did not and would never do. Whoever is going to attack him in the future will deal with us. We are a family and will stand by each other. My mother told us when she divorced my father that he is just a man that gets his due. None of us deserve what she did to me. He is not just my father. He is also the most honest person I have ever known. I introduced Lily to Megan. Lily hugged her and said, Emily and I had a long talk yesterday about everything we learned. It turned out that our mother lied and misled Daniel just as much as she did our father. In her desire to be the center of attention, she almost destroyed 5 lives. We know that you and Dad are going to get married. So as far as Emily and I are concerned, we want to forget about Megan. Okay. Mom, Megan burst into tears and said, you couldn't have said it better. Lily, I'll do it. If you promise to be one of my bridesmaids. Let's go get breakfast and then buy you some clothes at Macy's. I suggested. Can I go to Denny's? Lily asked if they were still open. Yes, but the closest place for breakfast is Huddle House. I replied, if that suits you. It was satisfying and I was surprised at how much my youngest could eat. I thought it might be cheaper to feed her somewhere else. I still couldn't believe I had life again. My daughters have come back into my life in a way I never dreamed possible. I no longer slept in the house. It was a real home. While we were at Macy's, I deliberately got lost and walked away. There's something a little unmasculine about watching women discuss bra sizes, panty sizes and personal items. When they noticed that I was missing, I was almost back. Megan asked where I had gone and I said I was going to the toilet. I sat and watched Lily try on things. For some reason she wanted my approval hell. In my opinion, she would look good in anything 3,100. Later we walked out with 2 bags. When we got home, Megan showed Lily the now furnished 4 bedrooms upstairs. Megan was delighted when Lily chose a room with furniture from her master bedroom. We sat on the patio, enjoying the space before the heat got too much. The women drank iced tea and I drank cold beer. I stood up and walked over to Megan, taking the box with the ring out of my pocket. I dropped to one knee, catching her by surprise, since I haven't formally proposed. I said, opening the box containing the triple set of rings, will you marry me as soon as my divorce is finalized? Of course, she said yes. Lily took it all off and sent it to Emily with the text, yes, it fits. I found out her ring size from her brother. About half an hour later, Megan unexpectedly received a call. Lily and I looked at her with concern as she suddenly began to cry. I didn't understand it, her phone, as soon as the person on the other end said, congratulations. Daddy. I knew it was my eldest daughter. Are you on your way already? I asked. I left at 4 yesterday, driving almost non-stop. Emily explained, at night there is less traffic and police on the highway. My car easily goes over a 100. Tell my sister that I brought her things. I said I would let you know and asked how long she had left to travel. She replied, what time is it there? I said about 2 in the afternoon. She said, need some help finding my way. I just took the exit to the Cape. I said I would send her a text with instructions. I did it. I didn't know whether to be proud or angry, since it turned out that she had been driving for 24 hours without stopping. The girls heard the car approaching and waited for it at the door before it got out. Emily looked tired, but okay. Suddenly it dawned on me. I saw my 3 girls together. The first thing Emily did was look at Megan's ring. At that moment the bell rang. I ran to answer Alex. We were in a jam today. Chris said some of the clients we lost because of the rumors are coming back and we have a lot of new ones wanting to make appointments. Many of them from out of state. If this continues, we'll have to hire more staff. We're working on it. My daughter, Emily, will start working as a junior next week. I said she's green but she's studying for an MBA. Can I have her on my team? Asked Chris. The work will be long but she will get the hang of it quickly. I said yes. Chris Acker was energetic and ambitious. I hired him right out of college with honors. Like all of us, he learned it through hardship and made up for his mistakes with time. He quickly realized that the business theories taught in school had no practical application in real life. He knew it and was not ashamed to admit it. Everyone who worked under him learned it the same way. His approach was, if you see someone making a mistake, stop him and explain why his approach is wrong. The only wrong question in his eyes was the one you didn't ask. Chris, Megan and I are taking the weekend off. We still have a lot of stuff to sort out. I said, with our engagement and the return of our daughters, we have legal issues to resolve. Plus we need to register Lily in school engagement. Wow, by the way, we have a QR letter from the FBI. Can you pick it up at 5? Said Chris. Damn. Thanks for the reminder. I completely forgot. I said before saying goodbye. At 430 we all headed into town. We decided to celebrate our first formal family dinner at Red Lobster, my daughter's restaurant of choice. I stopped in front of the office and asked Emily if she wanted to see her future job site. She said yes, and we all went inside. As we entered, the secretary stood up and led us into the largest conference room. Inside was a large cake and a huge banner that said congratulations. Emily met her new boss. Everyone welcomed my new family. It was noticeable that my daughters were already calling Megan Mom. We finally got to the restaurant around 6:30. It was during an all-you-can-eat promotion, so my daughters stopped counting after 140 shrimp and couldn't believe that I was now eating raw lemons. Like most people eat oranges, my daughters and I read the judgment together. The first thing the judge noted was that the document was found on a website that did not require a lawyer to create it. The second thing experts noted was that Alex Salemmaster's signature had been circled in order to copy it. This caused significant disruption in the natural flow of the ink. When in King, comparing each of his signatures on the document, the breaks were not consistent across each signature to establish a pattern, developing over time. Third, I have never used my full middle name in my signature. The fourth obvious clue was that the date of the signature, according to witnesses, was after they left Missouri. The second page was the court's decision that Emily and Lily Mitchell were never their legal names. This happened when I was in the first or second year of junior high school. I think I was about 13 years old. I grew up in the countryside. In the eyes of the court, they have always been an Emily Thompson and Lily Thompson, and all their documents must be changed to reflect this. We spent a week solving legal problems. First it was Social Security, then the state advocate's office to restore their birth certificates with their original names. We then went to the DMV to get new driver's licenses with their original names on them. It was personally rewarding to sit across from the same school principal who told me where to go 5 years ago to enroll Lily in 11th grade. The last thing I did on Thursday was buy them new cell phones. On Friday, I asked Emily and Lily to follow Megan and me to the Groves Ford dealership in Jackson. Megan gave me permission to trade her car along with Emily's car. The girls chose new 20,119 Ford Escape cars for lease, with the option to buy through my company. When I got home, I wrote Emily a check for the amount we were given for her old car as a down payment my divorce lawyer called for. The first time in 5 years, my daughters and I were scheduled to attend a hearing scheduled for 1 p.m. on Monday. I asked Megan if she wanted to come with us. She replied, "Hell yes." We all sat in front of Judge Donald McDonald watching as Adelia in Mitchell took her place on the big screen in front of us without her luxury. She looked unimportant. The orange color clearly didn't suit her. The judge asked her lawyer if he had anything to say about the contempt charge. He said his client said she didn't realize she had to be in court that day. The judge asked her lawyer, "Did you remind her of this many times when you negotiated the settlement?" He answered yes. "Are you so incompetent in your field as to believe that the accused can tell the truth?" The lawyer replied no. "How does your client wish to respond?" "No objection, Your Honor. I sentence her by the 5 years that will be repulsed after any federal term." The judge said coldly, "Your Honor," said her lawyer, "isn't that too strict?" Judge McDonald replied, "No in my eyes, no in my eyes. But she has a right to appeal. As for the divorce, it is granted in favor of Mr. B. Thompson all assets remaining from their marriage. She loses the right to them from the day she left the state with their minor daughters." The judge said. Turning to my lawyer, he added, "Drop a divorce decree and add a waiver of the mandatory period. I think your client has waited long enough." "Your Honor," said my lawyer, "my client has one more request that he would like you to grant." "What is this?" Donald asked, looking at me with a question in his eyes. "He has recently become engaged to Miss Megan Beard and would like you to perform a civil ceremony when they are married." My lawyer said Megan, and the girls almost jumped out of their seats. I had a big smile on my face. My lord lawyer, and I thought it might happen like this. If this happened, he should have used the funds that I put on his check to pay for the lease of the cars and transfer ownership of the cars to Megan and the girls and return the rest to me by check. I will respect and congratulate both of them. It's long overdue," the judge said with a big smile. We all saw Adelia's face on the screen. Her face was white with shock. I think she believed she would get away with 30 days in jail for contempt of court, not that kind of time. It must have been especially painful for her to learn in court about my engagement to her younger cousin. The judge lowered his gavel and said the trial is over. As we stood up to leave, the judge came up to me and shook my hand. I introduced him to my future wife and daughters. With due respect, he told them I'm not man the duck now. So just dawned before we left. He said, Alex, we should go fishing before it gets too. Not no one, I think, has ever seen 3 more excited girls than the ones in my life. They all started talking at the same time. Accustomed to silence, I began to dream of earplugs. This was when I noticed a couple quietly leaving the court. It was like I was hit. These were the last people I expected to see. It was my mom and dad. As my father said, when he ended our relationship and disowned me. Forgiveness is easy. Forgetting is not. I learned how rude that is. Nothing makes girls happier than being invited to plan a wedding. This was what filled our home when we returned to normal life. Megan has put her house up for sale. Emily fits perfectly into my team. She was noted to have a sharp and insightful mind. Lily found several old friends and reconnected. In the first week, Masters Consulting was overwhelmed with work when we signed new corporate contracts that required a complete restructuring to survive a significant injection of capital. Emily surprised us all by pointing out things we had completely overlooked that were costing our clients millions in potential sales. It took her 3 weeks to fix this part. The resulting increase in sales surprised everyone. Megan and I were lying in bed just cuddling. She was getting used to the role of a mother, just as I was getting used to the role of a father. You know, honey, my biological clock is ticking. How long do you think we should wait before we try to have 1 or 2 of our own? Megan asked, looking at me with her dreamy eyes. I have to admit that I never thought about it, but I knew that after everything she went through with me, I had no right to refuse. Let me answer your question this way, as long as you don't appear pregnant in our wedding photos. I'll leave it up to you. I said I don't think I need to explain why we didn't sleep much that night. We finally said our vows on Mother's Day. Emily was a bridesmaid. Lily and another niece were bridesmaids. Chris Aker was my best man and my 2 nephews were best men. It was a small ceremony in our backyard with a lake in the background. Megan's brothers were preparing the yard. The judge married us under an arch of spring flowers. All the men wore jeans, cowboy hats and matching boots. Of course, the women were in all their glory. Megan wore a traditional white wedding dress. Her bridesmaids were in yellow dresses. Her extended family hosted a fabulous barbecue dinner that night. Our terrace turned into a huge dance floor with live music. Life went on. A criminal trial began against Rebecca, and Daniel filed for divorce. My civil attorney discussed the case with their attorneys and the Bank of America Eagle team. Our first Father's Day as a new family was approaching. I knew my wife and daughters were planning something, but I didn't know what. On Father's Day, Megan and I were on the lake in our canoe at dawn fishing. The fish were biting well. It seemed that as soon as the fly touched the water, it was immediately grabbed. In less than an hour we caught our full catch. Just before we started swimming back to shore, Megan gave me a card that she had hidden on her person. I opened it. It read, Happy Father's Day. Daddy, we're pregnant and it's a boy. I jumped up for joy in caps. EXC the canoe. We lost everything: fish, fishing rods and a box of bait. We returned to shore in the wet canoe. When the girls found out how I got the news, they thought it was funny. They had already been told Megan's good news. It took time for everything to work out, but it is not always the case. Everything changed for me when I saw the birth of my son. He came into the world screaming, weighing 7 pounds. My mother was shocked when I called and asked her to come to the maternity hospital as soon as possible. When she arrived, I hurried to take her to Megan's room where she was keeping our son. His name is Colin Richard. I said my mother couldn't help herself. It was her grandfather's name. As for my father and I, we still don't talk. He should come to me, but he hasn't come yet. But every day is a new day and life goes on. Thank you for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode of the story, please give it a like. And don't forget to subscribe to get notifications for updates.